Hey guys, J-Man here for a movie review. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is upon us. Super quick recap. I like all the Guardians movies, especially part one. And my relationship with the Guardians is very minimal. They had an appearance in a Marvel 2-in-1 with The Thing. That's my boy, The Thing. Uh, I like that appearance. That's not the Guardians of the Galaxy that we got in that first movie. Star Lord, to me, I read when I saw Guardians was coming out, I read the first kind of things of Star Lord. I'm like, whoa, this is like the black and white magazine where Peter Quill is just kind of like this like ass. It's like his parents are killed. He's like, I want to go out in space and find these killers and stuff. And you're like, whoa. And he's like super serious. I was like, well, that does not look like what this is going to be. And I was reading, I can't remember exactly when, but I was getting into Adam Warlock and the Infinity Watch and the whole Infinity Gauntlet thing. I really liked Infinity Gauntlet. I loved Adam Warlock. I read Infinity Watch, so I was aware of Gamora and Drax and stuff like that. And I got really into that story. And actually, I was one of the people that for Infinity War, I'm like, why is Adam Warlock not in this? Like, to me, the Infinity Trilogy is Adam Warlock and Thanos in the first one, and then Adam Warlock versus Magus, who was really himself, and then the goddess, of course. So Adam Warlock isn't just important in the Infinity Saga, he is the Infinity Saga, right? Infinity Watch was his team with Gamora, Drax, Moondragon, Pip the Troll. So Pip we saw in Eternals. He does not make an appearance here. Who else? Yeah, there's a few people. It's like that. Eternals has just been ignored pretty much. Okay, which is fine by me because that was a boring mess. I hated that movie. So anyway, so when Guardians came out, I'm like, okay, I didn't really know the characters at all. Drax wasn't really the Drax, like he was kind of silly. You know, I didn't really care about Rocket Raccoon. Groot, and I just didn't care about Groot that much either. I didn't care about Gamora. She's not the comics. Peter Quill was like, this isn't the Peter Quill that I've just read. So walking into Guardians 1, I'm like, all right. And I kind of loved it, right? Guardians 1, it got me. It got everybody. I don't think anyone was prepared for how cool Guardians Part 1 was going to be. And if you were prepared for it, that's great. I did read the comic that it was loosely based on, and that comic is not too bad. It's okay. It was a good comic. So I liked the movie a lot. And I think what happened in that movie was that team of characters just came together for me. And I was like, wow, I like all these characters. They're really fun. So part one, high marks. If I was rating it, it's probably like a 9 out of 10, right? Something like that. High marks for part one. One of the better. It's definitely top tier Marvel movies easily. It's probably still the best one out of this trilogy. Okay. Part two, I was like, I wasn't dying over it as much. I thought Drax was super annoying in it. I don't know what happened. I didn't find him that annoying in part one. Then all of a sudden in part two, he seems super annoying. I didn't care about Rocket. He kind of was just like, Peter Quill, I love Star Lord. He's basically my favorite character in these series. He's in like my top 5 favorite Marvel MCU characters, and I know that's maybe unpopular because people don't like him, but I don't know. I really like him. I got that shirt. That yeah baby or whatever it was called, that the shirt that he had from part 2 with that weird font. I don't know, I just really liked him a lot. I got keychains of him. I bought all the I bought like the toys, the bobbleheads and all that, the Funkos and everything. I really like Star-Lord a lot. He was just so cool to me. So him in part 2 was great, and I love Kurt Russell. Obviously, Kurt Russell's the best of all of the villains in these movies because it's Kurt Russell. Ego as a planet or whatever, I was like, I don't care about Ego. I didn't really care about Ronan either. Like Ronan, I'm like, I don't care about this character. But so Guardians 2, I was kind of on, and then I bought it on 4K or Blu-ray or whatever it was at the time, and then I rewatched it, and I thought, this is really cool. I liked it a lot more. Okay, so I liked it a hell of a lot more on my second viewing at home. So again, I'd probably rank that one like maybe an 8 out of 10 as well. Okay, so Guardians 3, let's talk about this using my space method. Story, pacing, artistry, characters, enjoyment. Each category gets a score between 0 to 2. 2 is the best that you can get in a category. If I give the storyline a 2 out of 2, I'm not saying that the storyline of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is better than the story of Lawrence of Arabia or Citizen Kane or 12 Angry Men or Ben-Hur or something like that. I'm not saying that. I'm comparing this movie to the Guardians movies. This is a Guardians of the Galaxy movie. This is now volume 3. There's certain expectations with the volume 3. This is also James Gunn's probably last outing with the Guardians. So you know there's going to be a lot more epicness to it, right? It's probably going to be a bit more serious, and the trailers were coming. I didn't really watch all the trailers. I watched one trailer, and I came to find out that people were saying, "Oh, for the trailer makes it look like someone's going to die." I didn't even pick up on that. I'm like, okay. So there won't be any spoilers for this. I won't do any spoilers, but just to keep that in mind, okay? So anyways, so I'm comparing this to the Guardians of the Galaxy movies themselves, plus also as a science fantasy. It's really a fantasy, really. It's a fantasy movie in general, right? So there's things that come with fantasy movies. So that's how we're looking at this, okay? So we're not looking at this versus, Winter Soldier or something, which is like, this has nothing to do with Winter Soldier. Like, this is its own thing, right? Okay. So for the storyline, I'm going to give this a 1.5 out of 2. I like the storyline. It really gets into Rocket Raccoon's origin. It's basically his entire origin is being told through this movie. And I actually was really pumped up for I like the way they handled it. I'm not really an emotional person in movies, so I don't cry or get sad over sad things. If I get caught up in a moment and I get a little bit misty, it's usually for something happy, not for something sad. So like when Spider-Man, Tom Holland was like evaporating, he's like, no, no, no. I was not sad. I was like, well, it's Spider-Man, he'll be back, right? But, so for sad things, it doesn't really get me, right? But I usually get more excited for happy things. So if something happy happens, I'll get, misty. I can't think of an example right now, but it's happened. Okay. So it's happened. So, but it is, some people will be sad. There are some sad things that happen. And I think some people may have been crying in the theater. I'm not 100% sure. The guys behind me were like, "Are you crying, buddy?" No, no, no. They're doing the old, "No, I'm not crying." So, I think, the story was really cool. So Rocket is injured, by Adam Warlock, and, they're trying to save him. Well, he's injured by he's injured. I don't want to get into too much spoilery stuff. Rocket Raccoon is injured. They need to save him. Okay, that's the storyline. It picks up where all the characters are. So Gamora's over here. Everyone. So they all come together. They have to go save him for various reasons. They get Gamora in a different way, right? And they go to a lot of. I'll get to the artistry, but they go to a lot of neat locations. And there's like a couple of neat little things where I'm like, I'm always going to remember this location because it's so weird. But yeah, so 1.5 for the story. I like the story. 1 is average. If a movie gets a 5 out of 10 or a 6 out of 10, that's kind of a pass. 5 out of 10, 6 out of 10, that's a pass. That doesn't mean it's a shit movie. It's a pass. So if every category gets a 1, that's a pass. I'm giving this more than a pass because it delivered more than I thought it would. Like I was really into what was going on with Rocket. Every character, I'll get to characters. Pacing, I'm going to give it a 1.5 for pacing. I can't give this a 2 for pacing because the problem is that it is quite long. It's 2.5 hours long. And I think they could have made their point in 2 hours. I don't think we needed the extra half an hour. This is one of these, it's the trilogy closer, right? It's the end of this trilogy. So we need to make it longer because we need to tie everything up. That's why I'm giving it a 1.5. Normally I would give a 2, if a movie is 2.5 hours and it should only be 2 hours, that's a 1. Because you're like, well, you effed up on the pacing a little bit. I'll give you a pass because I wasn't bored. I was not bored during Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. But I did feel the length. And Sean mentioned this as well. Sean will be posting his review, I think. I felt that upon second or third viewings, it's going to seem long, right? It didn't seem long because I didn't know what was going on at the time. So you're like, oh, what's going on? But I think once you watch it again, if you've already seen it, you're like, this feels long. Spider-Man No Way Home had the same problem. So that's where that came in. But anyway, so that's that. Let's get into the artistry. So for the artistry, I'm going to give it 2. Man, everything looked awesome. Like Quantumania was dark and drabby and really crummy looking. This movie looked awesome. They went to this like living organism thing, and I'm like, this is so neat, like it's so cool. Everyone looked good. They had their costumes from that comic, from that comic. I don't know what year it came out, but that newer comic with like the red outline and then the blue, and they had their little symbol. So to me, that's the Guardians costume. So they had the uniforms. That was neat. The music was good. There was a lot of music. It almost seemed like they're like, let's put in every song we ever thought we wanted to put in. So maybe they used the music a little bit too much. So I could ding it for that, but I like the music and it kind of worked for me. So I'm like, let it go. I'm giving it a 2 out of 2 for artistry. I thought everything looked really good. Characters, I'm going to give it 1.5. Now, I would normally give it a 2 because my whole thing with characters is that we have to look at what this movie is about. So if you're making a Superman movie, like let's say Christopher Reeve Superman, Christopher Reeve Superman is the best. He is Superman. That's all I care about. It's Superman. If the hero is the best, then that's an automatic 1 out of 2, 1.5. Same with Guardians. I'm giving it a 1.5. The Guardians of the Galaxy themselves, I liked every character. This is the first time where I liked everybody. Mantis is awesome. I got a little Mantis statue that I had from before. I love Mantis. Drax was great in this. He had like an actual arc and there's emotion to him. This has been Rocket's best thing. I thought Rocket Raccoon was freaking awesome in this. Like, I thought he was like okay in part 1. I didn't like him that much in part 2. I really liked him in this one a lot. All the characters were awesome. Which brings us to High Evolutionary, who's one of my favorites. High Evolutionary and Adam Warlock. Those are the big 2 that people are going to be talking about. So again, the Guardians themselves, I love them all. So 1.5 out of 2, I'm standing by that. I'm dinging it for Adam Warlock and High Evolutionary, and I'm only dinging it because High Evolutionary, he was cool. I like the actor. He was insane. He's completely insane. He's like mad scientist High Evolutionary, not so much like calculating High Evolutionary, which is fine. This is the character that they chose to go with. It's not the comics. I don't think there's too many High Evolutionary fans. I am a High Evolutionary fan. I got the whole hardcover big super volume or whatever. That was awesome. So I am a fan of High Evolutionary. I wasn't really upset because I've sort of realized that none of these characters are ever going to be what I want them to be. Like Drax wasn't even Drax in part 1, so you got to let that go. Within the movie, he's just kind of there to be there. And then, I can't do spoilers, so he's just there. You're like, oh, look, it's Adam Warlock. Could have been any character. Now, they don't actually say Adam Warlock. They just say Warlock, so I don't think they ever say the word Adam. Maybe in the credits, I don't know. But anyway, to me, it's like, I don't want to say he's like Boba Fett or something, but like it's because Boba Fett did take Han Solo back. But it's just like he's there. You're like, okay. If nobody knows who Adam Warlock is, they probably wouldn't even think twice about the character. They're just like, oh, okay, he's just like this guy who I guess, is he going to be a good guy now? I don't know, right? So I think he's okay in the movie. He's all right, but it's not really the Adam Warlock. Adam Warlock should have been in Infinity War and done that whole thing. They should have done him completely different. They didn't do that. What can I do? So but I'm still dinging them for that. It's still a bit lazy. High Evolutionary, I thought he was pretty badass. Like, he was pretty angry. And he was completely insane, and he's a complete asshole. Like, this is one of these times where there isn't this big, well, he's trying to do the nice thing. It's like, no, he's an asshole. And Rocket Raccoon said it perfectly. He's like, you're not trying to change things to make them better. You just don't like the way that they are. Or I don't know the exact line. That's a bloody awesome line. That was freaking awesome. Enjoyment factor, 1.5. I really enjoyed this movie. I would say, I think I might have liked it better than 2. Part 1 is probably like a 9. So I'm giving this an 8 out of 10. Part 1 is probably like a 9 out of 10. Just if you put it all together. The issues with this movie, with the third one, are the same as the other 2. The villain isn't that great. But for me, I'm looking at the heroes. The heroes are great. This movie has a lot of heart to it. They are a family. They bicker with you. They are a family. Like, at one moment they're fighting with each other, and then the next moment they're happy and go lucky. That's literally my family. I'd go to every Sunday. We'd meet up. My whole family would meet up for a Sunday lunch every Sunday. And we get there, it's all hugs and kisses and hey, everybody. And then there's an argument and then we're yelling and screaming at each other. I've had yelling and screaming matches every Sunday. And then it's like, and then like 10 minutes later, we're like, oh yeah, everything's good. It's like, what happened? That's just how we are. And I feel that they really captured this family of Guardians together perfectly. So that's what I enjoyed about it. I'm giving it 8 out of 10. There's going to be people that don't like this movie. I think if you liked the other two, you'll like this one because it's really the same kind of stuff. So the two dings on this one, boil it all down. Forget my rating system. Forget all that for a second. Boil it down. It's a little bit too long. High Evolutionary wasn't developed as much as he should have been. That's it. But Guardians 2, same issues. You know, Kurt Russell's just the bad guy. Okay, he's planting his little seeds around the world. It's like, all right. Ronan the Accuser. I don't even remember who he was accusing or what he was doing. So these movies are about the Guardians, but I can't give it a perfect score because the villain wasn't as awesome. So I have to ding it for something, right? So those are the two big stingers for me. I think it's a little bit too long, and I think that the villain wasn't as awesome. But the story with Rocket and everything, I thought was really good. And I'm not a big animal guy, to be honest with you, like, because if you know who High Evolutionary is, he is doing high evolutionary things. So this isn't just like they just made up a guy. Like it kind of works with the way they did it with Rocket. So yeah, I really liked it, guys. Let me know what your thoughts are on Guardians 3. It's a bit more serious in tone than the other two, but I think that was a good thing. They changed it up a little bit. I don't think this is the best of Phase 4. There's 3 movies I liked in Phase 4. I do like Spider-Man No Way Home. I really like Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, though I have some issues with Multiverse of Madness, but I like that. I loved Multiverse of Madness, and I really like Guardians 3. So those are the 3 good ones for me. All the other Phase 4 ones you can just throw out the window. They're all trash, except for those 3. So there you go, guys. That's my opinion. Let me know in the comments. Until next time.